Hello friends, I am Chevy. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? Today is Tuesday, February 7th, and it is my little girl's 8th birthday. And silly me, I made plans to do a video with her, and I didn't tell her. And so she's not here. How bad is it when your plans you can't line up with your 8-year-old daughter's plans? She has gymnastics tonight, and we have dinner night. Usually as a family we do a birthday dinner, and you know, the kid gets to pick where they go and all that stuff, or the parent. Well, we're kids too. So we're not going to be home until much too late to try to record and put up a video tonight, because the idea that I have for the video with her is going to have a significant amount of editing involved. So maybe I can film it with her tonight and get it edited for tomorrow. Who knows? But yeah, the good news is I'm still working on the game. And last night, after talking to you, I went forth and designed a bunch more cards, which I'm really satisfied with. And I have enough cards to make what I call a tech demo. And a tech demo is, so this game in my mind will have a deck of about maybe 120 to 150 cards. So it's going to have a lot of cards. It is a card game where you are building cards. So it needs to have a significant variety. And the way that I'll accomplish that is have lots of cards where there's singles of, or duplicate, or just two, and then there'll be a bunch of cards like the basics that I'll have tons of. And so what I do in the beginning is I will design, I told you I might start off with just blank cards, literally moving blank cards around and seeing how they interact with each other. Oh, if this goes here, what does that mean, kind of thing. And then once I move up to these cards, the thing that I had, where's it at? Oh, and it has a box now. Designs get serious when they get put in a box. And I'm still using this sweet Blastoise Pokemon box. So once I've moved up to the point where I'm ready to self-evaluate, then I will design a very small selection of cards. So here's what I had at the end of the day. Yesterday, there's probably, I don't know, this is less than 56 cards. This is 9-card sheets, so probably 36 cards or so. And this just allows me to fiddle with the basic idea. So I designed like... All right, let me tell you a little bit about the game. Let's start there, because I was really surprised at how many of you yesterday were like, yeah, I want to hear more about this. Please do share. So I told you yesterday that the game design was initially going to be Mars, like a simple Mars colonization type game, and it has moved away from that. And I think I'm going to call it Planeteers or something like that. The idea is we are an advanced civilization. It's very far in the future, and we're accustomed to settling planets. We kind of know what goes into the whole thing, and we kind of have a supply chain set up for making that happen. So you're one of 4 corporations. This is really just a way to get a starting setup, so you kind of have a focus. And you're essentially going to take cards, which are modules for your space colony or your space station or whatever you might call it, and that you're going to build a physical, you're going to build your space station out. You might have, energy resources and gardens and all sorts of stuff. So you're connecting modules like Legos. Being that it's a card that represents the physical module, there's 4 connection points, so there'll be 4 airlocks, and so they'll go side by side, and that'll there'll be combos that happen when that happens. And my camera's gonna die. How fucking sweet is that? Technology. Of course, I moved my battery bank. It used to be plugged in back here. I moved it upstairs because of the gaming channel. Whatever. So anyway, you've got these modules that are going to be connected to each other. There are 4 different kinds. There are agriculture, habitat, I'm calling habitat, which is really like life support, engineering, and science. And then there's also cards that don't fit those categories. They're kind of not necessarily bad, but they can be intrusive or obtrusive cards. So what I'll do, like I was saying earlier, I basically came up with a tech demo. I've designed 90 cards, so there's a lot of duplicate. Well, I haven't designed 90 cards. There's only 5 cards for each of the 4 types, so 20 there plus 3. So I've designed 23 cards, and that's it. And so this is part of the design philosophy I was telling you yesterday, was you really just have to try the game as quickly as possible. So there's 23 different cards in a 90 card deck. So each card is represented on average 3 times. Some there's 6 copies, or one there's even 8 of. Some there's only 2 of. But this is the tech demo. This isn't the finished game. This isn't anywhere near the finished game. This is just enough variety so that myself and a group of friends can sit down and test the whole system. The thing is, when you're building your little base, each card has a special restriction or need when it's being played or once it's in play. So, for instance, here's an engineering card, the recyclers. I'm thinking like air recyclers, but it's just recyclers. Cannot be connected to engineering. So I couldn't have another engineering building directly next to this, right? Why? I don't know. Thematically, some of the stuff doesn't currently make sense. It's just names. I could rename it to something else that would make sense, but for right now, I've just come up with names. Thematically, most of it does make sense. For instance, there is some there's a reactor core, and you can't put that next to agriculture. So there's or you have hybrid GMOs, and you can't put those next to other agriculture, and so there's stuff like that. But so it's not super easy to just build your base out because you have all these placement restrictions, and that goes on. So what I need to see through my test is I know how the cards are supposed to work. I know how the game is supposed to play. I know the general idea of the phases of the game. I don't have any rules written. I don't need to write rules. I know it there's 3 basic phases, whatever. Let's just go through it. Half the time, especially when doing a demo like this, I'm making the rules up as I go. All right. And so what I'll typically do, I don't feel the need to have this like detailed, intricate rule set so that I could answer every possible question the first time we play the game. Instead, I tried to have a broad overview. So in this game, for instance, you're going to start the game, you're going to have your starting little location, you're going to have a hand of cards, probably 2 to start the game, and then we're going to have a draft. So we're going to deal out X number of cards and draft. And I think currently it's going to be 2 times the number of players. I'm not positive about that yet. I'm thinking about doing like a snaking draft. Maybe I won't. I'm not sure. That all has to come as I see it play. I know that the base, I know how big I want the base to be once you've got it constructed. For the tech demo, because there's so few unique cards, I'm probably going to shrink the size of the base just so we can see that play out. I want to see the end game play out. I want to see the beginning of the game play out. I know that I want to have achievements, like first person to get 3 astronauts, or the first person to build 4 science buildings, stuff like that. But I'm not sure how those are going to work yet. So I'll just like make placeholder cards. It'll just have a science symbol on here, and I'll lay it on the table, and people will say, "What is that?" And I'll say, "I don't know." It'll have something to do with science. Maybe the first person to build 5, or the person at the end of the game who has the most, something like that. I know that the phase of the game will be the draft, and then you'll play a card, and then you'll either move or use your scientists or astronauts or colonists or whatever I want to call them. And then we repeat, and the round order will go around the table. So I have that stuff. I have the very high level, how is this game going to work in my head? And then when I sit down to play it, that's when I wait to see, because people are going to ask the questions that I haven't asked to myself. And that's essentially what this first public showing will be. I want to see where the players go when I tell them the premise of the game. I want to see where their brain goes in relation to the components. I want to see how they devise the creation of their structure. I want to see... many of them are going to just try to min-max the point system, so they're going to try and just tweak every little detail as quickly or as efficiently as they can to score the most points. And I need to see how that looks. I need to see a whole lot of stuff. There's a whole lot of unanswered questions because this is such a combination-specific game. It's really hard to, practically impossible to just, I'm going to design 120 unique cards and build a 150 card deck out of that and slap it down and let's play. Because if the game breaks because I screwed up one basic question that I forgot to ask myself, well, what happens when this happens? And it breaks the game. Then I've wasted a whole lot of energy designing all these cards that I now have to go back and completely redesign. Or I have to scrap the whole thing and start over. So instead, I try to design a minimum quantity that is still sufficient enough to be a valid test. I don't want, it's just like a tech demo when you play a game. You play that demo that's just the first level. It's enough for you to understand how the game works. And if you enjoy it, then you continue on. If you don't enjoy it, you walk away and you've only lost a few minutes of your life. Same thing here. I'm doing a bare minimum. Now, you can't see this probably in the camera. I'll put some stuff here on the screen. I usually go a slightly farther than bare minimum with my prototypes because, for me, I'm a very spatial learner. I'm a very spatial thinker, and so I will do a whole lot of graphic layout while I'm designing, and that's just how I stay in the ruts, I guess, in the wagon tracks. If I find myself drifting because I can't creatively develop new ideas for the cards or whatever, I'll just turn on the graphic design software and just do some graphic design to keep my mind in the framework of it. And oftentimes, though the graphic design typically is intended to serve the game, oftentimes I find that because of the way I lay something out, it triggers ideas for the design, if that makes sense. So I usually don't recommend people just go balls out and make really pretty prototypes, but I do it because it's the way that I use my brain. So yeah, so I guess this is a follow-up to yesterday. Hopefully I can get Keely back here, and before she falls asleep, we will film something for tomorrow or Thursday, or I'd like to get it done this week while it's her birth week. And yeah. So I'm actually really excited about this, which is awesome. I'm pretty high energy right now, which is amazing because I haven't been high energy forever, and I want to get it done, and that feels really great. So thank you for telling me that you're interested in it. Thank you for letting me know that you want to see more, and I'll keep making more as long as I can keep up the positive vibes, which hopefully will be a while because I'm tired of being down. So thank you for being here. Thank you for commenting, liking, subscribing, sharing my content with your friends, doing all the beautiful things that you do to make this channel wonderful. I will see you tomorrow. Today's random fact comes from theguardian.com. What does Roger mean on the radio? In the previously used US spelling alphabet, R was Roger, which in radio voice procedure means received. I think you mean phonetic alphabet. While in the current spelling alphabet, R is Romeo, Roger has remained in response, meaning received in radio voice procedure. Romeo that.